Watch me, Reggie. I'm climbing up the tallest ladder there is.
Yeah? Well, watch me, Bobby. I'm sliding down the longest chute there is.
I think that ladders are more fun than chutes.
Well, I think that chutes are more fun than ladders.
Hey, why don't you kids decide while you play our Chutes and Ladders VCR game?
Great idea!
The first game is a numbers story. So put your cards on the game board with the numbers side up like this.
And remember, kids, when you hear, that means you can remove a card from the game board.
Are you ready? Let's start our game.
Our first story is entitled Thrills and Chills. Whoa! Whoa! Come on, race to the tree! Ready, set, go!
Bobby and Reggie were best friends, but they were always arguing.
My sister's dog had 5 puppies.
Oh, yeah? Well, my sister's cat had 8 kittens.
Bobby and Reggie were always competing to see who was better. At the playground, Bobby would climb the highest ladders, then Reggie would slide down the longest chutes.
Yowie!
Now watch me leap over those 3 barrels.
That's nothing. Watch me jump over those 4 boxes.
This particular afternoon, they raced one another down the street on their 2 bicycles. They almost ran right into Joni and Sally Ann.
Hey, slow down! Yeah, what's the rush?
We're just having a race.
Where are you going?
We're on our way to the amusement park. You wanna come?
Sure. Last time I was there, I threw baseballs at milk bottles and got a prize. A brand new set of marbles.
Oh, yeah? Well, I played the ring toss, and I got 1 great big stuffed bear.
Sally Ann got on Bobby's bike, and Joni got on Reggie's. Then they rode off to the amusement park, but continued to argue all the way.
Bet we'll beat you there.
Bet you can.
They both arrived at the amusement park at the same time. The kids quickly bought their tickets.
Hey, look at me in this mirror. There are 6 Bobbies.
1 Bobby's more than enough. But in this mirror, I see 9 Reggies.
Next, they all went on the merry-go-round.
Look, my horse has 4 golden horseshoes.
My horse has 6 pretty black spots.
After that, the kids all rode on the spinning teacup ride. Bobby and Joni rode in 1 red teacup together.
Come on! Spin, spin, faster!
Reggie and Sally Ann rode in another teacup that had 5 stripes.
Come on, Reggie, faster! Faster! Hurry, hurry, hurry! Hurry!
Faster, Bobby! Faster! Come on, let's go!
We gotta catch up! Come on!
Harder!
Faster!
Come on, faster!
I bet our teacup spins faster than yours, Reggie.
I bet ours spins so fast that we fly right out of here.
Both cups spun like crazy, and the kids had a good time. When the teacup ride was over, they all went to the food tent.
Watch this, Reggie. I'm gonna eat 5 cookies at once.
That's nothing. Watch me eat these 6 cupcakes together.
You boys are always showing off to each other. Why don't you have a big contest and agree that whoever wins is the winner forever?
Yeah, then we won't have to listen to this silly arguing ever again.
The boys agreed. They decided that whoever could ride the scariest ride the most times would win. But then they couldn't agree on what was the scariest ride.
I say the Ferris wheel.
I think it's the roller coaster.
They finally decided that Bobby would ride on the Ferris wheel, and Reggie would go on the roller coaster. The girls would be the judges. Joni watched Bobby get on the roller coaster with the 7 other people in line.
Good luck, Bobby.
Sally Ann watched Reggie climb 8 steps up to the Ferris wheel.
Good luck, Reggie!
And the contest began. Bobby rode the roller coaster 10 times. Reggie went around in the Ferris wheel 10 times also.
Whoa!
By the time they reached the final ride, both boys had tummy aches from having eaten so many sweets beforehand. So each one had to quit. When one found out about the other, well, they laughed really hard. It was a tie.
But remember, you boys can't ever argue again after this.
Not ever.
Okay, you win.
We promise.
To celebrate the bargain, bought each girl a big ice cream cone. And each ice cream cone had 3 huge scoops.
Gosh, it's time for the kids to set up for the next game.
I'll bet you I can finish my ice cream cone faster than you can.
I'll bet you can't.
Hey, kids, while we race, you can set up your board again. The next game will be a sound game. So turn your cards so the picture sides are up, like this.
This time, you can remove a card from the board whenever you hear the sound that goes with the picture.
For example, if you hear this sound, pick up a card with the picture that matches the sound.
When Reggie and I finish our ice cream cones, we'll play the next game. So set up your game board. I'm almost done with my ice cream.
I'm gonna finish my ice cream first.
It's another tie.
And now it's time to start our game.
This story is called The Golden Cuckoo.
One day, Bobby and Pam were home alone, babysitting for their little brother Todd. To pass the time, they played hide and seek.
We found you, Bobby. Hey, look, a door.
Pam opened the door, and it made a scary sound. Behind the door was a long stairway leading down into a dark cave. Bobby and Pam started to go down the stairs when they heard Todd cry.
We'd better take Todd with us.
When they reached the bottom of the stairs, the kids saw 2 shining eyes and heard this sound. Bobby found a flashlight and turned it on. The sound had come from a frightened little kitten.
Don't be scared, kitty. We won't hurt you.
Baby Todd was so glad to see the kitten, he made this sound. The kitten was glad to see Baby Todd and made this sound. But suddenly, the kitten jumped out of Pam's arms and ran up to an old chest. The kids opened the chest and found a pirate's treasure map.
Wow. This map leads to something called the Golden Cuckoo.
Let's try to find it.
And so, with the little kitten leading the way, Bobby, Pam, and Todd walked through the spooky caves. And finally up into a magical forest where the sky was dark and the rain was falling. The kids were pretty scared, but got even more scared when they heard... It turned out to be a cute little dog. He was howling because he had a thorn in his foot.
I'll help you, little doggy.
Bobby carefully took the thorn out of the dog's paw. Then the kids heard... It was a beautiful horse grazing in the woods.
I'll bet that horse could take us to the Golden Cuckoo really fast if she wanted to.
And the horse must have wanted to, for she knelt down and let the kids, the dog, and the kitten scramble up onto her back. But before she could get going, a strange sound was heard from far away. It was a train, and it was coming right at them.
Run, horse, run!
The noise from the train was so loud, they could barely hear this sound. It was the dog crying. But the next thing the kids heard was a very mean sound. It was the little kitten meowing angrily at the horse. This startled the horse so much, she jumped off the tracks just as they heard... It was the whistle of the train telling them to get out of the way. And the next sound they heard was... It was the sound of the frightened horse galloping through the woods, carrying them to safety.
The map says the Golden Cuckoo is on top of the mountain. But how can we get up there?
Simple. We'll use these balloons.
Bobby blew up the balloons until they were very, very big. They were so big, they lifted Bobby, Pam, and Todd up above the trees to the top of the mountain. But before they reached the top, they heard... It was an old wooden clock, tick-tocking on a rock. Bobby reached out and grabbed the clock.
Is that the Golden Cuckoo?
Beats me.
Suddenly, the kids heard a strange sound. It was a giant rooster running toward them. And boy, did he look mad.
Quick, let's get out of here!
But it was too late. The rooster ran up to the balloons and broke one of them with his beak. It made a loud popping noise. And as if that wasn't bad enough, they then heard an even louder noise. It was thunder and lightning. It was so loud, the kids could hardly hear this sound. It was the giant rooster crowing angrily. And then, without warning, all the air in the last balloon came rushing out through a small leak. The balloon zigzagged crazily through the clouds, and the kids held on as tight as they could. But no matter how hard Bobby tried, he couldn't hold on to the balloon and the clock at the same time. He had to let go of the clock and watch it fall to earth. Luckily, the balloon landed in the leaves near the cave. Pam, Bobby, and Todd ran down into the cave and heard this sound coming from above them. It was their mother driving the car into the driveway. The kids raced up the stairs and slammed the secret door behind them. They ran into the living room and heard... It was the brakes of their mother's car. As they looked outside the window, they heard... It was the honk of her car horn, telling them she was home.
Hi, kids. What'd you do today?
Well, Bobby and Pam told their mother all about their adventure, but she didn't believe a word of it. And when she looked behind the drapes on the wall, there was no door there.
You kids have great imagination.
But as soon as their mother left the kids alone in the living room, they heard... It was their friend, the horse, walking up to the house. Then they heard... It was the dog they met in the forest. He was sitting on the back of the horse alongside the kitten, and in the horse's mouth was the old wooden clock. Suddenly, a beautiful bird popped out of the clock and said... It was the Golden Cuckoo, And it wasn't in Bobby, Pam, and Todd's imagination. The golden cuckoo was real.
Wow, that was an exciting story.
Yeah. You know, I sure would like to hear the sound of that silly cuckoo again.
But we have to wait for the right time.
Kids, you can set up your board while we wait. The next game is a number story.
That means you should turn all your cards so the number side is facing up, like this. Then, when the cuckoo comes out of the clock, we'll start the game.
That cuckoo should be out soon.
I can't wait to hear him.
It's time to start our game.
This story is about our friends, Ricky and Nicky, and they have a really exciting adventure.
It's called Ricky and Nicky versus the Space Dragons.
One cold winter day, Ricky and his sister Nicky had to stay inside to play.
What a boring day. Yeah, boring.
Finally, they decided to draw pictures with their 8 crayons.
Look, Ricky, I drew my picture with 7 different colors. Good, Nicky. I drew a picture of 4 horses. But you know what?
Suddenly, a loud noise shook their house. They looked out the window and saw one giant spaceship float down the sky. A door opened on the spaceship, and 5 little robots stepped out.
Earth children, our masters need your help.
But how can we help?
Please hurry. You're our only hope.
Ricky and Nicky climbed out of their window and went inside the spaceship. Before long, they were zooming toward 6 twinkling stars in outer space.
In the middle of those stars is our planet. That is where you will help us.
That's great! But first we have to get past those 9 meteors coming right at us.
Luckily, the meteors shot past without even scratching the shiny spaceship. But the adventure had just begun. When the ship landed, Ricky and Nicky found themselves face to face with 4 funny-looking space creatures.
Who are you?
We're the Snubbles. We sent our 5 robots to get your help. We need you to fight off 10 terrible fire-breathing space dragons.
They don't look so terrible. Why don't you fight them yourselves?
We're scared.
Okay, we'll help you, but we'll need 2 ladders and some big buckets and 1 very long rubber band.
With all their supplies ready, Ricky and Nicky set off to fight the space dragons. But first, they had to walk past 8 bubbling volcanoes. Then they had to build a raft to carry them across 3 rushing rivers. When they finally reached the Valley of the Space Dragons, the sky was filled with 6 shining suns. Suddenly, the kids heard scary roars come. Out of the first cave stepped 5 fire-breathing space dragons.
Uh-oh, here they come!
Then out of the second cave stepped 4 more fire-breathing space dragons.
Let's get busy!
Ricky and Nicky each took a ladder and stuck the bottom rung into the ground. Ricky then connected the ladders with a giant rubber band while Nicky ran back and forth with 7 buckets, filling each of them with water from a nearby lake. Then the 9 space dragons spotted the kids. They flew into the air and swooped down toward Ricky and Nicky.
Okay, Ricky, let him have it.
They let go of the rubber band, and the buckets of water flew into the air. Each bucket landed in the mouth of the space dragon and put out the fire. But there were 2 more dragons than buckets.
What do we do now?
Ricky saw 3 big geysers nearby.
I've got an idea. Grab that hollow log and put it on top of this geyser.
Ricky's plan worked perfectly. Water shot out of the geyser, through the hollow log, and right at the 2 remaining space dragons.
But wait, there's still 1 space dragon left. And there he is! Quick, run to the lake!
Ricky and Nicky ran to the lake as fast as they could and stopped at the water's edge. The space dragon swooped down from the sky and suddenly realized he was in big trouble.
Uh-oh.
The space dragon skipped across the lake 3 times and then sank into the muddy water.
We did it! We beat the 10 space dragons!
And so they had. The grateful Snubbles flew Ricky and Nicky away from the 6 twinkling stars and back to their own home, where they weren't having a very boring day after all.
I can make this robot do anything I want with this remote control. Watch! I'll make him spin on 1 foot.
You can set up your board for the next game, kids, while we watch the spinning robot. It's a sound game, so turn all your cards so the picture sides are facing up, like this. Then listen for the sounds that match the pictures.
Wow, look at this robot! He can't spin much longer.
This robot has got to stop soon.
Gee, guess we let him spin too long.
We'll get him out while the kids play the next game.
This is a story about our friends, Sherwood and Dottie.
It's entitled The Case of the Lost Choo-Choo.
My name is Sherwood Holmes, and I'm a detective. I was working on the case of the squoosh bug when I suddenly heard a sound. Being a great detective, I knew right away that it was the sound of falling rain. The next sound I heard was even easier to figure out. It was the door to my room closing. My assistant, Dottie Watson, had just walked in.
Sherwood, you must help me find the lost choo-choo train.
Dottie needed my help, but I had to be home in time for dinner. I quickly decided to take along something that sounded like this. It was a clock to tell me what time it was. Next, I decided to start looking for the lost choo-choo first thing in the morning, which is exactly what time it was when I heard this sound. The sound of a rooster crowing. The first place I looked was on a farm. Right away, I heard... Was it a clue that would lead me to the lost choo-choo? Nope, it was just a horse laughing at me.
Sherwood, I think that maybe a farm is the wrong place to look for a lost choo-choo train.
I agreed with Dottie and decided to look for the choo-choo at the circus, which is where I heard this sound. What could that be? A juggling dinosaur? Nope, it was just a clown blowing up a balloon.
Gee, Sherwood, I don't think we'll find the lost choo-choo at the circus.
Once again, I agreed with Dottie and decided to continue my detective work in one of my favorite places, a pet shop. That's where I heard this. What could it be? A giant steamboat? Nope. It was just a dog howling at something in the cage next to it. But what was in the cage next to it made this sound. Dottie thought it might be a rocket ship, but she was wrong. It was just a cat.
Well, Sherwood, I don't think we'll find the lost choo-choo train in a pet shop.
This time, Dottie was right. I decided to try looking in a parking lot, which is where I heard... Was it a super big goose? Nope, it was just a car horn. But then I heard a new sound coming from inside the car. Was it a rock and roll singer? Nah, it was just a baby crying.
Gee, Sherwood, I don't think we'll find the lost choo-choo in a parking lot.
As usual, Dottie was right. I got a great idea. Why not look for the lost choo-choo at a railroad crossing, which is where I heard... Was it the lost choo-choo at last? It was only a car's brakes. But then I heard what must surely be the lost choo-choo. But again, I was wrong. It was just a horse walking down the train tracks. It was starting to get cloudy and cold. Suddenly I heard this sound. It was thunder and it scared the horse. I knew he was scared because I heard this. It was the frightened horse galloping away. But then I heard another sound. The sound of a car's engine. Just as I was about to give up, I heard another sound. It was my cuckoo clock telling me it was time to go home for dinner.
Gosh, Sherwood, I'm sorry you didn't find the lost choo-choo train.
I was sorry too, but then I heard... I looked in a window of my house and saw that it came from a cat chasing something making this sound. It was a scared dog, and as if that wasn't strange enough, I heard this. It was a baby. I was wondering what a cat, dog, and baby were doing in my house when I suddenly heard... It was the front door of my house opening up. And then I heard... Which was followed by...
Look! A meowing cat is sitting on the back of a barking dog.
What was that?
It's the rooster being chased by the dog and cat.
And once again, Dottie was right. Because that's what it was. But then I heard... It was the whistle of a toy train. Could it be? I walked into the house with Dottie and heard this sound. It was a pop party balloon. Being a great detective, I quickly realized that this was my...
Surprise!
...birthday party. And then I heard the best sound of all. It was the chugging wheels of my birthday party. A toy choo-choo train.
Congratulations, Detective Sherwood. You found the lost choo-choo.
Those are all the stories for today, kids.
You can play the Chutes and Ladders VCR game again if you want to. Or you could play the Candyland VCR game that's just like this one. All your friends from Candyland have some great adventures with colors and pictures.
We have a lot of fun playing our VCR games.
And remember, we're all from Milton Bradley.
Bye, kids. See you soon.